scene after it begins and leave before it ends. You only want to show the what needs to see in order to help them get engaged in the story. While you always hope the screenwriter has done their job, it's up to the director to ensure that that scene is tight and flows smoothly. This includes including the audience into the passage of time. If you're going to utilize time production or expansion, most decisions of what you show the audience should be made before you shoot. Oftentimes, writers will just note in the slug line, external house, night, or inside Charlie's bedroom 5 years later, without indicating to the director a way to show that on the screen. It's important to review the script before you shoot, notating how you'll show the passage of time. That way you'll minimize your workload and have more time to get the shot right. Text on the screen showing the date or time can be used to establish when the action of a scene or sequence is taking place. Audiences can gauge time passage based on the last breath of their ear. While time is an abstract concept, objects associated with time are very concrete. From clocks and calendars to sunrises and sunsets to seasonal changes. The passage of time can be easily inferred from the symbolism. There are multiple techniques that utilize symbolism effectively. Let's examine them both. When you're looking for ways to compress time, you can show a character has aged years by altering their hair, makeup, and wardrobe. When you're using babies or children actors that are replaced by adult actors, they're not good and may have to incorporate the character's name and dialogue if the resemblance is not uncanny. Many films will use makeup and hair color to age. But as a director, it's important to remember that age can be defined by so much more. Plot, length, or a gravelly voice can also indicate aging. Encourage your actors to bring creativity to the table and use their dramatic skills. Props and locations can show
What would you like from the
the shiny new car is now old and worn. The document is now yellow and faded. When objectifying time,
If it was something that you had to focus, not something that you had, not something that you passed.
Really, the picture is on such a short level, so it's like
What if you did this
shot during a
manipulation
12-week
earlier?
period of time,
You can
the same actor
tell with
just
it
using
one
process
process
is
different
very
by
different. While the time
he's
time
playing
limit
video
for talent
get to that
it's
degree.
interesting as
Imagine
well as
Or people
Take the
establishing
picture.
shots are used not only to show where the action is taking place, but
Let me
also
show
when it's taking place.
show you another
Opens
one,
up
I'll
with a shot of the exterior of a house with
subtract
bright
the
sunshine,
situation
and
from
the
the
next scene
or
opens
add
with
them
the
together.
full moon.
What do you
Lake.
see?
The audience will get the
I'll tell you
idea
what I
that
see.
time
I want
moves
you to
through
see
situations from day to night, even if
People
no
can do
other
this to such a good
Likewise,
degree. They
you
really
don't
kind
have
of
the same
can't
resources
really get away from the idea that
Maybe
whatever's
that's
going
true
on in the
excuse.
background.
Well, yeah, if I had
Maybe
a
we're
huge
going
decked
to
out studio with this
on a
equipment,
functional
this
level, it's acting
camera,
like
audio, and
they really do
this
have
microphone,
the
then yeah, easy. I'll look forward to it.
and often people
Yeah.
explain
shots
when
of
you're
the
given
Those
what you
things
have to
stripped
do.
away.
time.
People are
Stills
looking
are
at
edited
this is
together
impossible.
to create
You can't
this
do
effect.
that.
The most common uses of
But
time
they'll
lapse
give
are
you that
sunset
spot
to
anyway.
sunrise,
And look at the
That's
lady.
impossible.
and seasonal changes.
Curious
How the
question.
crowd assembling and disappearing,
The levels of
traffic
success
patterns
that
on
you can
time,
find.
storm rolling in, or other
They take a
things.
lot of
Montage is a sequence of rapid shots which quickly shows the passage of time. These sets of motion are often used for the making of a movie to establish characters' relationships or story. One
certainly
needs to
can
compare
have
hours,
having
not
a sense of
believe that the truth
While
in
one
those
or two
hours
can
Imagine
work really well, if you
horror.
have more than that, audiences
You've got a
associate
make
with
how long
process.
it's following
Many
the
types of
hours will feel
transitions
less
are
then you
commonly
make
used to
a
illustrate
judgment
types of
about whether
pieces
you're
in
getting
the
the
story.
process
Cut is the
or
simplest
when you
and
do
most
make
likely
such a process.
use.
or whether it's time
You could
to
say
follow.
it's the absence of a transition.
So you can see that there'll be a
Romanticizing the process
followed by the
is
first frame of
It's
also
necessary
you
because
can
you have to have fun.
many productions.
The
pray
greatest
or
Cuts
credit
thrives in
extremely
only a
shots
certain
and
amount of time.
cuts are so
having
common
fun.
that they often
Time
go
of the
unnoticed
year, so
by
if
the
you've
audience.
got a way
Sound
of
dictating some of the pictures
planning about
And the movie jumps forward
that's
to
right.
later in
The
the
best
track
part
by
comes
removing
not
the
really
section
just
of
a
loose,
you
shortened outline shown on the screen.
You are
Cuts are
allowed
much less commonly used
to take over
transitions
creativity.
compared to cuts. They're often only used to
You
place
allow new levels
emphasis
of
on
art.
dramatic shift in
Now
the
this is
story
why
that
having fun
concludes with
is
the passage of
important.
time. Fades are a shift
Having
to or
fun
from a
is
solid
an
color
indicator
to a
that
footage
your
color.
creative
The most
spirit
dominant
likes
colors
to
used
use
on fades are
Your creative
white.
spirit likes to
Fades
use
often illustrate
These
longer passages of time
Why
as
we
compared
have
to
what
a
we're
passage of time
trying to
illustrated
get
by a cut. These are sometimes also used
So
as
this is about
transitions
finding
to
creative
and from a
peace
segment of
through
expanded time. Fade to black
having
is
fun.
often used for a transition
Love
between two
to do it.
clips
And this brings
where
us
a
to our
large
first
amount of
point.
time passes in the story.
Love would
Fade
be
to black can also be used to transition
You'll
the
have
story
fun
out of
through
one
love.
point of time
You're not gonna love
followed
it
by a
if you
fade to
understand
black
why.
to transition the story into another point of time. Dissolves are
Make
often
things
used to
from you
highlight a
and
character's emotion in
not
transition
let
or used to enhance a visually beautiful montage. When considering how you want to convey the passage of time in a film, it's important to think about the
but you can't let those
With
exterior
expansive
things
pre-production
bog you down
it's
this process.
You make still
So
footage
you're gonna have
that
to
once
take
edited, make your film drag.
the greatest
Don't be
gear
afraid
once
to
you
cut and trim
once you try to
to
contain
condense
it,
time. Audiences
those
are
things,
smarter
that's
than
when
you
you're
think.
gonna
They really do
start
understand the
cutting them out of the
visual element
process.
of film.
You're not
It's
gonna
better to
work
make
with
them
others,
think
not
than to
with
make them work. Cinema
not
has a
with
rich history. By watching movies that affect you, show past time, you'll find inspiration for your music.
So lean into what you like. Lean into your inspirations. Inspirations and the art that you like are great indicators of the type of art that you want to make. So just ask yourself, what is your favorite piece of art, the craft that you're working on? Is it a movie, your favorite book, your favorite song, your favorite poem, your favorite painting? Any and all of the above. Look at your inspirations and art that you like and think about how that can inform your style. What that means about the type of art that you want to make. What that means about what you like. Again, the idea that you having fun, being creative, is that word. It's the same thing with your film.
Yep,
Like
I'm
art,
sure
that's
YouTube's gonna be flooded with videos saying
have to listen to that. Be conscious of the things that
ever
you
made
like.
my
Be conscious
mankind.
of
Oh my god, my soul, my heart,
process.
all that stuff. Disney is
Very
fixing
important.
all that good stuff. I am your fucking.
Where are you working? Where's
Well,
the
with
actual
the
physical
live
space?
action, so okay, I
Process.
most people
How
know there's
can
been a lot of bad
for the
press
process? How
about
can you
this
make it
movie. There's been a
How
lot
can you
of
make this
quote
environment
unquote
a place that
controversy
people
about it.
can
I'll admit I
craft
haven't
your
followed
process.
closely.
Again,
I've
have
seen a
fun.
little bit of what
Bring
I wasn't
together,
strongly
like,
disagree with,
have all of these things
but it all
guide
seems
you
like
in
stuff
crafting the space. Your environment
the
is a
more
huge
and
thing.
kind of this
The conscious and subconscious, your state, your emotional state, your physical state, your spiritual state, all of this.
I must admit, as
You
someone
have to be very aware of the place
as someone who
process
hated
could
live
work because they will affect
from
you.
the day
And that is a positive thing. Use that to your
Semi-related.
advantage. Put up things that inspire you most.
And maybe this helps me kind of identify this.
Print out pictures,
You know,
put up
start off
posters,
like
inspirations, artwork that you like, just things that you like, things
I
that you
didn't
like.
realize
And
that
I'll
the
tell you a
first time I
space
saw
right
it
now
was
that's already made.
Cinderella
That is
was
perfect.
and I was
for your
kinder to those
space.
movies
And
when
that's
they first came
outside.
out. I think because I
The
just
outside world.
wasn't
Nature.
used to
I
the
cannot
BS
emphasize
yet,
this
and there
enough.
were some
So
good
work
things
outside.
in them. But
Work outside.
yeah,
Try to find every
revisiting them,
opportunity that you can to do your
you
work
just see
outside.
the
Like I
scenes
said,
like the
the
beginning of
environment
these
is
bad ideas and
huge
just
effects.
complete misunderstandings of what these stories are about.
Being
So I
outside,
will say, as
nature,
someone
in the wide open
who started
space,
off, I certainly didn't love them. I was really on the
flowers,
fence. I can't
the
remember
air,
if I think Maleficent, I said was okay originally, and then when I watched it again, I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Really, really awful. And then Cinderella, I think I was a touch more lenient
my
towards,
own
but I
process. I
said,
do a lot of
why
work.
watch it? Go watch Ever After, and that's trying to do the same thing. It's just make better.
Editing. If I have
And
to
then after
sit
that,
and
I never liked it.
brainstorm for each
I
script,
think there's some
and I'll
that
just
come
do that
close,
outside.
like
If I have
Cruella,
to
I
write a
think
song,
came
I'll bring it
kind of
far
close.
outside,
Pete's
and I
Dragon,
can
I
take
think came kind
advantage
of
of that
close.
outside.
But I still don't think they quite work.
That it has on
So
my state.
with all that
Next
building
thing,
up to this, just
you can
this
prove
movie
to
that
yourself that this is
people have
worth
just been,
more than
ripping
just
apart left and right, even before they see it, for the choices that they were making. It just did not seem logical, and after years and years of people, or at least of Disney, not
like
understanding
training your
what these
muscles,
fairy
like
tales are
exercising
really
your
about,
muscles.
That's a trick question.
I think
Frequency.
it's
All about
to the lines that they're just trying to get far away from it. Ironically, by doing so,
It's not your greatest
making
fear.
better. They're making
Greatest
things so
fear
much
is already
worse, and they're making some character bland and everything. These arguments.
relationship.
Let me say over and over and over, like I said,
That's the
nearly
thing that
years of this. I've had to defend
you have
myself
to
about
show
why Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin are
creativity.
bad remakes, man.
Something that we're gonna
Like, if
do.
people are looking at me like, oh, you're great. Oh, come on, relax.
Do
Cool
what
on,
you feel
fine,
like
fine.
and shy away from it for a long time. No.
Yeah, so on the
This
one hand, it
is
is nice
serious.
to
This
see
is a
this
way
occur.
creativity is a much
On the other hand, there is a part of me that's like, you know, like,
creativity
why are they
is like
They're
it's
not real. It's not
art.
real things.
You have to commit
But
to
yes, a lot of the
those
things that people
if you want
are
to
finally
see
seeing with these
now
live
this can
action
seem
remakes,
hard.
I
Again,
agree
going back
with.
to what we talked about,
I should have
enjoyment,
said it long
fun,
ago. So
effortless.
where
Like
does
video
this
games.
fall?
This routine,
I think it's pretty
this
obvious it's not
commitment
good.
to this routine
This
should be a
is not
result
a very good movie.
of you loving
Where does it
what
rank
you're
with
doing
all
by
the other
making
ones?
things
Well,
enjoyable
it started off
It's not
process
really
just a
by
generic kind
the work
of
that you're actually
bad,
doing by making those
very
things
much much a, okay,
You're making
what
it
I
easier for
expected
people to want to
from a
actually
Disney
come
live
back.
action remake.
Your
It
work, your
sometimes looks
environment,
visually nice, sometimes sounds
story.
nice.
What is the best time to
But
What's the
you
best
see
time
them
to
trying to fix all the problems, like they're ashamed of their past fairy tales, and while there certainly
For
are
me
issues in
personally,
there,
I like
there are
the
problems
world
at times sometimes. I think they're really missing some of the strengths of that and why people do
chill during the process, but also at nighttime,
But
an idea
yes,
strikes,
they're trying to fix
inspiration
these super little
strikes.
problems that are
I'm not going to suppress
them
them.
worse.
I
But
will create
nothing too crazy. And then sometimes something would happen where it just
grow
was
the
so
inner artist.
bad it was funny. And that's always what I look for. Like, okay, at least give me something entertaining. And if you're gonna be
So
bad,
if
at
an
least
idea
be entertainingly
comes,
bad.
you have to take
And there
it
are
on.
certainly moments like that. My gosh, if one good
Where
controversy
you
about
harness that
English
relationship,
about how
those ideas
sports
that come to
they
you,
are in this,
the more that it's going to come out, the stronger it's going to become, the more your spirit's going to be expressed through this world, and the more that
if you want
happens,
people to look at
the
sports
more that it's
as
going to actually
the
take
single
over,
most
and as it takes over, it's
horrifying
going to draw
cinematic
you to the
visual
process.
in
It's going
recent
to
years than Mission Accomplished. Because
it's going to bring you to the
these things
studio.
are
So if an idea comes up,
These things
write it
are-
down.
I had to see this on IMAX because that was the earliest screening, and
You might not
just
know what
watching it on
you
screen that big, because
anything that
they're
creates
trying to
your
give you a lot of close-ups. Thank
grow
you for
the
that.
inner artist by exercising those muscles, act on those
And I'm
ideas
sure
that
you've
have
heard
no
they're not.
inspiration.
I don't know if they
Anything
used
that
it.
your creative spirit was
To
in. The magic found
they
in
ever
the
use
process.
the word.
The magic that's
They're just
responsible
magical
for what
creatures.
your genius are.
When you want to know what their magical power is, they can put their
It's not
hand
found
on a diamond in the
physical
mine,
things.
and they all light up.
With microphone.
Wasn't that necessary? Didn't that add so much to
confusing
the
that it
story?
makes sense.
So,
Right.
what I'm getting to is that
It's not found
there were
in this
moments
physical.
like the court, and then
It's right
Gal
here.
Gadot.
It's the soul, it's the creative
At
spirit,
first,
and that
starts
is
off kind
why
of funny. You know, like in the right way. So she comes in, she's the stepmother who dies.
process.
She
A
comes
great
on
way to
in,
feed this
and
relationship.
she just looks like an ordinary,
Stillness.
pretty
Practice
lady. Comes in, has a nice smile,
Get quiet.
really
Find
talking,
time.
and
Find
saying,
ultimate
but she was evil, and just
quiet.
instantly you see her put on some,
Get out of your room.
bracelets
Go
and rings,
outside,
and
be
and just she's
yourself,
in the
just
outfit
listen, just tune
immediately.
in. You'll feel it
I
here.
just burst out laughing because there was like no transition.
Job is
She's
just
suddenly evil.
You might not be getting ideas.
And she was actually rocking it okay for a little bit of time. She was doing okay. Again, these are not very well written characters, but we know the archetype. And she played the archetype okay. And then as the story just kept going.
With the mind beautifully.
Yes, there were moments where I was laughing because it was
During some of those moments,
creatively bad
time,
in some respects.
just let the
And then it
silence
did
be.
start getting
If you don't want to work
and
on
not
the craft because you
annoying,
don't have fun
but other
ideas to
times
act on, well, here you go.
that's always right. I kind of draw the line.
It's right there in front of you. The
But
silence.
in terms of like insulting the
Allow
original,
it.
well, you already know going in this is not going to
Get
be
serious and
really much
harmonious
like the original. So again, I'm like, at least give me some. But still
there,
the
silence,
bar that you just
habits,
cannot. Maybe you can, but it has not been beaten yet. Is the line that was just the
The reason why
most
it's hard
of all
is
these live
because
action shows. This doesn't really come to that level. Because like I said, when you get to the third act,
quiet mind.
I'll get to more detail in about in a second, but where the other movie ends, that's just the first part of the third act. There's more in this one. And with, again, the problems they're trying to fix this, I'm kind of surprised they went certain angles with it, but at the very least, after the ending of the original film happens and it keeps going, at least I'm like, okay, well, I don't entirely know where this is going. So at least I have that to look forward to, where again, it's like,
Again, get out of the way.
It sees
And
a
we can see this,
four-dimensional
and we
world.
can see how
there are
much of
choices in this
all
that
of this
are so
actually
baffling
From time and
because
space
I'm
belongs
not
to
doing
the
video
something that would love to be
Time and space are
able
beyond
to
glasses.
emotional
such
story,
a
how it's
magical
style,
journey
the
this
way you can tell a
through
story,
this
and I always
art,
say
you
that
can
there's a
experience the magic.
there's this holy trinity of emotional
Sometimes you just
storytelling.
get
One is Snow White, another is Wizard of Oz, and another is the Wild Things.
Don't find a way
But I'll
to
go
see
more
it now.
into detail
Don't
about
find a
that
way
As we
when I
move
do that
through this
video.
process
But the
right
idea
now,
is that it does not rely on not just much logic, but almost no. It is entirely what your emotions want to see. That is the setup, that is what it follows through with. And for the original film, the original Snow White, I guess I
away the
what I think
limitations
of
of
the
the
original.
mind through the
I like it, but when the
What is
king
out
turns
there?
into
That's not going to happen
Eternal.
unless you find a way
witch or
to
whatever.
indulge in
From that point on,
romanticizing
Because that's exactly what your emotions want to see when watching that. I mean, not just as a child, which is certainly when your emotions are
process.
but even as an adult, wanting to remember back to just those raw emotions watching this stuff. You know, who is that prince? Why does he know? He sees her once in the opening, and then suddenly they're in love and everything. When he kisses her back away, she's like, "Goodbye, everybody." Well, what does that mean? Why do they suddenly have to go? They didn't even have a conversation.
I'm not
With their
saying
emotions,
they struggle.
and they just want to ride off into the castle. The castle's literally in the clouds. You know, it does not take place in a literal world, and that's part of the fun.
I know you can't really see it technically,
And not even that, it's a fairy tale.
Learn
And
to
it got to
love
this
the
weird
entire
mindset
process,
where
all its ups and downs.
for some
This is
reason
all
we
we
think
do.
people can't tell the
If there's
difference
a part
between
of you
fairy
that's
tales
pushing
and
you
real
away
life.
from the work,
And that's
you have
very,
to
very
find-
odd to me.
You have to rediscover.
Especially
part
in ones that
within you
I'll just say they're
that's gonna
geared
push
more
you
towards
back.
girls.
Exactly the same as
There's something where, a boy can go and fight with a sword and everything. We don't have to say, hey, boys in real life don't fight with swords, but with girls, for some reason, we have to say, no, don't just wait for a prince to do everything. Do stuff on your own.
Discord.
They're
Check out my YouTube blogs,
They're
website.
grown-ups. I don't know why we feel like we have to, pat them on the head and say, this is not how it works.
All of your great projects, dream
So, for them to take this angle is already something I don't like. But even in the narrative they create, it doesn't make sense. For example, early on,
Trust the process.
Onslaught narration, by the way, there's a lot of songs in this, and, you know, sometimes they just sing, so why you wear a shirt, it's like a new song or something. They very rarely explain what's going on, so in the opening you have a song where they're just singing about how happy they are.
The Quarterpounder with Cheese have many great bands.
But then this narrator comes in, just keeps throwing
Maple flavored
information
griddle
after
cakes.
information,
You get one of
and you
them.
much more backstory than you
McDonald's
can
breakfast?
for a fairy tale. And I even missed the point where the father wasn't in the picture anymore, where the king disappears. I'm watching this, I'm like, wait, what happened to the king? And they do this weird thing where they make it look like, maybe we're gonna do something with it. And then they don't. It's very, very bizarre. I'll try not to go into spoilers. A ton of spoilers on this, at least you wouldn't think.
I hate it because I like
When she goes to the magic mirror.
But the way you experience
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
one of the Ferris's episode. Of course, I'm not gonna like him because that's
The narrator
what set
makes it
off
clear that the mirror can only answer one question.
episode.
That's the question. I've never
But I like that. I see them as a
ever
king.
thought, why doesn't she ask the mirror
And that was
one
another
question?
thing.
Why doesn't she ask the mirror where Snow White is? Why doesn't she send the troops to go get Snow White? Why doesn't she use her magic for other stuff? No, because again, it's a fairy tale and it's one that relies on your emotions. This is the very, very simplified version.
Oh, okay.
You know, do we have to know in The Boy Who Cried Wolf?
Alright,
Do we
that's
have to
pretty
know his
funny.
backstory? Do we have to know everything about him? Do we have to know what hair color he was? Do we have to know how smooth he was? Do we have to know his personality? No, you just get it. They're very simple stories. Very straight, but they get across a very simple goal. And that is to give you an emotional journey. You know, The Boy Who Cried Wolf is supposed to be where this, you know, it's been a very important lesson. And so when you have them say, and the mirror can only answer
I
one
thought,
question, that kind of logic just doesn't mesh well in this world, because you're already going
I
off
have
of a
seen
story.
this. I mean, it's
Are trying to
very
escape
dumb.
from, but trying to be
It is
so
a
that they
perfect
can as well, because obviously she's gonna wear the outfit that looks like Snow White. You're gonna have the Queen wearing the outfit that looks like the Queen, and you have these moments where you're trying to be super, super
no, not yet. I do
but
want to
then other moments where if you're gonna be that literal, that gets you in that mindset where you're gonna question everything. And you're gonna question more things that don't make sense that the movie obviously doesn't want you to ask about. Like, what are these dwarves? What are these creatures that are not called dwarves yet? It's called seven dwarves.
So I'm supposed to
Started off talking about Gal Gadot early on versus later. That's how much crazy is going on in this movie. It's very easy to get sidetracked in this because it's so not well sewn together. So Gal Gadot's kind of
the explanation point is
you know, she's there like the
what is
most
present
action she'll do
between
is
two
she'll
films.
turn and her cape will fly, and she'll do this weird thing with her nails, or sometimes she'll be sitting
Just
there and her
a-
nails go like that, and they have a
Yes.
weird sound. Whenever
So
she
there is no
turns, she has sound effects because she's wearing so much jewelry and
separate
leather that's
choosing
like creaking and stuff like that.
of
Like,
the
that's
theme.
funny, that's fun. That's taking the idea and going all the way with it, and going even more
second
over the top.
coffee.
That's great. But then later they
third
do what they did in Wish, where you have this villain set up.
I chose
For whatever reason, they
be
just
an
make her
idea,
sound really
actually.
flamboyant and
Is
flashy,
creative.
and
If
she
I
has
have
this
time, maybe
big
I'll watch
number
all
where she's
of
singing really crazy and goofy
I
and
don't
weird,
think
and it
Well,
doesn't
in
match
fact,
at all. It's so
creative.
bizarre.
It is
And
magic.
again,
Not
you
a bad
can
idea.
see
There
like
is
the
nothing
Disney
that
chart
I'll
guy
get your
saying,
review
well,
the
the
next
chart
time.
says, funny villain songs are really, really in, and
was gonna
kids
say
listen to that more, so let's have one of those in there. Even though
refers
the
to an
character's not
entity.
supposed to be
It is
funny,
not
at least not in that way, not a very
during this course of
again, which has a very
changing of
sophisticated
causation.
snobby. That's fun. That's
No, I
funny.
think I saw
but I don't know how many
somewhere
kids would see that.
I just thought that's a funny
Anything but
title.
us as adults,
Because
we find that
I
awful.
say, I chose.
So
That would
that's
be
what
wait,
this
if
movie
someone
does,
just genuinely
and
really does not
there's so
want to
many
be
moments
There's no
for some
where
reason
option
she's
where
really
you
if it was
stuck and they
emotional
play it
storytelling,
around.
maybe it'd work okay.
The eye
But because it's more literal, it doesn't.
But I don't know if
It
that's
just makes you raise more questions and makes you see
So,
like just
problems.
classic. I don't want to be the hero, and then they find out they do want to be the hero here. Kind of thing.
There's a
So
character. I'm
awareness
trying to think how to word it. There's a
has
character with
Like if
a
they do something really
disability
big on the trope,
in
between
the
the
original that also has the same thing here. Now, the original,
It's
that
awareness.
disability that does okay.
That
In
slips
this
in
one,
there.
Awareness doesn't slip
why?
in there.
Because he had enough
Your
confidence.
TV
And I'm
screen
thinking to
doesn't
myself, well,
slip in
in an
between
emotional
two
story,
images.
emotional
Well, that's
storytelling,
right. The screen
I,
doesn't
maybe
choose.
that's still
I
big.
shared
has
an
no
elevator.
But I feel like it's
Yes, the
still
screen doesn't
when they were
choose because
taking
as soon as it
in
started
something
to
that's
choose,
literal where you're
Yes,
supposed to
somewhere.
read
You know, just there's
part
daily
of the
night.
this
that
is
would
the
be the
message.
I didn't really
This is
have
what we're
anything
trying
to
get a
say.
message.
It's
We're
like,
trying
cool,
to teach
neat, there he
little
is.
girls
But
and
it's like,
everything.
I don't know, what am I
I
gonna say?
would look at that and say, so boy, if somebody else has this disability and I'm supposed to take this very literally, I can just go up to that person. We just don't want it enough. Really want it. Really hope and dream and stuff like that. And it
Dressed as
makes
Wasp,
sense.
I think.
Again, I don't think it's a spoiler because everybody knows.
He just stopped. Just to say hello. And he just went in great detail
the
about
kids,
it. And I got a
back
picture
to life. He's still done it. And now that has never bothered me. There's a big plot about it years ago, which I did not understand. So the woman's dead, and the only way for her to come back to life is because I can't do it. Just let her die. I don't follow it. And again, it is still a different type of story. It's emotional storytelling. Them sharing that conversation, that it is not meant to be taken thinking about
Just
what
take it out, so I'm like, all right.
They've had one conversation. Yes, because
I consider them
short,
full,
only
Okay,
reliable.
and I
But
answer
if you're going by that mindset in this one, again, the very literal mindset, and they're always like, well, we don't want to be problematic, we don't want to make people upset. It's very interesting because they kept that in there, and the thing is always, well, I mean, because you heard the interviews, well, she doesn't have to be saved, she doesn't have to, which is fine. Characters have to be saved. Characters get in peril, sometimes they get themselves out, sometimes they have to rely on their friends, and that makes sense, and their loved ones, they make connections, you want those emotional connections. I don't see the problem. If it doesn't match the character, then I get that. It's like a strong, capable character, but like, constantly gets kidnapped all the time, that doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, in this case, I get it. I totally get it. But again, there's so many moments like that. There's a moment after that scene where the queen makes Snow White and
I did do,
because again, I'm like, where is this going? And it really doesn't go anywhere. I feel like they're trying to hammer in some kind of message, but they're trying to force it in so much at the cost of the logic
and I kind of talked about it. I talked about how Wasp
Yeah.
was doing their
original.
how to do
That
that.
is necessarily emotional, but with this, you're trying to make it more logical. So
So how long does the chain go on? Because
another really interesting thing. So
some decision.
I know you usually don't talk about
how long does the chain go on?
Yes.
Thought number 4, which imagines that the chain exists in time.
again, it was impossible to
Because
escape.
thought cannot know awareness, the
I
screen
remember seeing a lineup.
never
So they said
the screen is not in time.
but you probably see this picture too.
Thought can't see the screen, so it is
Before
So to
people
imagine
knew or before they announced
what is
it,
really
they
the
could see
screen,
the
what is really
just
eternity.
people of different sizes and gender, all that stuff, and people, rightfully so, in my opinion, kind of losing shit over and say, what? Those aren't dwarves, what's she doing?
So the whole
Well, it
idea of
turns out,
closing
they're
the
in this
choice
and they're not the dwarves, and they're wearing the exact same clothes.
John Bishop
They're a
tried to
band of
make sense
priests that are helping out the love interest in this. Not a
I don't know how to
There's
take
no
this. You're like,
choice.
but he is going against the queen and trying to steal from people, kind of like Robin Hood, Robin Hood, give them or stuff like that. So that makes me think one of two things, and either way it's kind of fun. One is that they were never supposed to be.
It's just going to make it worse.
There are seven, which is very conspicuous.
You have to hear
But
it
let's
and
say they were
get
never
it.
supposed to be. They were just supposed to be this band. Whatever. Then that's kind of funny because New Disney has gone so far with this about being, inclusive to a point where it's like it just doesn't make sense in the story, even the style of the story. That we would have that misunderstanding of the story that's seven of them. Or they did change it and they decided, well, we don't want
I don't get it yet,
throw these people
but-
out of a job here, and we just paid them. They thought they're gonna be on the big screen, so let's still give them a part, which is very nice. It doesn't feel very Disney, but that is very nice if they did that. If that is the case, then there's a lot of moments where I feel like, well, you could have been developing the dwarves a little bit more. Because again, I mean,